God gave Noah a warning 7 days before the fountains of the deep burst open and the world was flooded. Is this a pattern? Are the signs of the fall of 2024 a similar warning from God? Can we know the approximate timing of the rapture from these signs? And this is Bible teacher Nelson Walters, and I bet somebody right now is writing this down in the comments. No one knows the day or the hour. Don't tell us that we can. Well, no one in history has predicted the rapture's timing and got it right. In fact, there have been some pretty famous failures in that regard. However, let me ask you a question. Just because no one, other than the Father, knew the timing in Jesus' day, and no one has known up to this moment, does that mean no one will ever not know the timing of the rapture in advance? Is that really what the Bible says? For instance, does Jesus have that information today? Sitting at the right hand of the Father in heaven, he might know right now. In fact, I can't imagine that he doesn't. Might he not have known back then on earth, but knows now? And if he has that information, is it possible that others might be given that information in advance also? We really need to look at that question first before we tackle the story about Noah and the question of whether God has given us a warning sign and a timing sign right here in 2024. Nearly every believer watching this video today knows the verse we alluded to by heart, Matthew 24:36. But concerning that day and hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, except the Father only. But almost no one notices that this verse is directly linked to the next verse, Matthew 24:37. As it was in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. Jesus linked not knowing the day or hour to the days of Noah. He said Noah, and the Noah account is an analogy of what's going to happen in the future, in the end times. I bet you find that interesting. Second, Jesus linked not knowing the day or hour to the parable of the 10 virgins. And almost no one knows this. At the very end of the parable, Jesus gave his listeners the moral, or the summation of the parable. Here is Matthew 25:13. Therefore watch, for you do not know the day or the hour. See, there it is. The parable of the 10 virgins is all about not knowing the day or the hour. That's the same day and hour that Jesus spoke of, and the same day and hour that our friend is probably still writing down there in the comments. However, Jesus added something to this moral of the story. He added the words, therefore watch. Jesus said because we don't know the day or the hour, we need to watch. Just think to yourself what that implies. If we can never know the timing of the rapture, why would it benefit us to watch events taking place in the world? What possible advantage would there be? It would only matter if we're watching for signs that would indicate the timing of his return, at least the approximate timing of his return. Listen to Jesus' words again. Therefore watch, for you do not know the day or hour. No one quotes that verse, although just about everybody has memorized the first verse that we quoted, because it destroys the popular narrative, the one that says we can never know the timing of the rapture, right up until the moment it happens. Some will say, I'm watching for Jesus. Well, hey, me too. But how do we know how to do that? Do we stare into the sky for hours on end? No, obviously not. Do we do it by living a righteous life? Well, that's important, but that's not watching. That's obeying. Watching is using your physical eyes and observing. So it seems Jesus is going to give us signs. Yeah, he's going to give us signs, but only the righteous are going to see them. Righteous Noah knew the flood was coming, but the unrighteous around him didn't. Righteous Lot knew Sodom and Gomorrah was about to get blasted with fire and brimstone. But when he went to warn his son-in-laws, they just laughed at him. In both analogies Jesus gave of his coming, the righteous knew, but the unrighteous didn't know. This is biblical. In Daniel 12:9, the angel said to Daniel, "Go your way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed until the time of the end. Many will be purified, made spotless and refined, but the wicked will continue to act wickedly." Now here it is, none of the wicked will understand, but the wise will understand. So Daniel was told the words would be sealed, but at the time of the end, they will be opened up, and the wise will understand, but the wicked won't. Are we now in that time of the end? Is it possible for us to know? Maybe. And then in 1 Thessalonians 5:2-4, the Apostle Paul makes this same point. For you are fully aware that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. While people are saying peace and security, destruction will come upon them suddenly, like labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. But you, brothers, are not in darkness, so this day should overtake you like a thief. Paul contrasts the unrighteous, upon whom the day of the Lord is going to come like a thief, with the righteous. His Christian brothers won't be surprised. So for 2,000 years, no one has known the timing, but Jesus wants us to watch, because someday signs will indicate the timing for us. So there is a day at the time of the end when the words will be unsealed and we will know that approximate timing, maybe not the exact day or hour, but at least the year. And just like righteous Noah, we will be given a warning. Noah's flood was God's first wrath poured out on the earth, and it's a symbol of the fire that's going to fall on the earth in the end times. But what is an ark itself a symbol of? Noah rode in an ark. So did Moses on the Nile River. And so did the Word of God, the Ten Commandments. They rode in the Ark of the Covenant. So an ark is literally a box or a chest, as in a treasure chest. God's treasured people and his treasured word traveled in these arks. So the ark is a symbol. But is it a symbol of the rapture? And the answer is absolutely yes. Jesus said this future event happens on that day and hour, the day of Jesus' return, just like the rapture. Just as the rapture will someday lift the righteous above the wrath of God being poured out on the earth, in the same way Noah's ark lifted the righteous above the earth and the wrath going on below them. God shut the door of the ark on Noah and his family, Genesis 7:16. And in John 10:9, Jesus explains how he is the door, and anyone who enters by him will be saved. And just like the rapture, the salvation and the judgment happen on the same day, with, of course, the salvation happening first. So as we mentioned earlier, God gave Noah a warning that the flood was coming 7 days prior to the deluge. Not just some general indication, but a very specific warning that it was time to start loading the animals onto the ark. Let's read the passage in Genesis 7:1-5. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of all clean animals, the male and his mate, and a pair of the animals that are not clean, the male and his mate, and 7 pairs of the birds of the heavens also, male and female, to keep their offspring alive on the face of the earth. For in 7 days I will send rain on the earth." There's the specific warning. 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made I will blot out from the face of the ground. And Noah did all the Lord commanded him. Okay, let's look at this passage very carefully and take it apart. So God told Noah that in 7 days he was about to destroy all life on earth. To get ready for this, Noah had to load 7 pairs of all clean animals and 1 pair of all unclean animals on the ark. The verse says, Noah did all that the Lord commanded, so he did it. In this 7-day period, Noah and his family loaded up the ark. They weren't just sitting in the ark and waiting, as some have thought. They were working hard and loading it. The ark had about the same space as like 250 railroad stock cars. And some folks have calculated that it could hold about 30,000 animals. Animals about the size of sheep. Do you think this could have been done in a single day? No way. Even over a 6-day period, that would be 5,000 animals a day being loaded on the ark. That seems a little more possible. God likely brought the animals, to Noah, but he and his family would have had to lead them onto the ark. 5,000 a day would take 300 animals an hour, and they would only get to rest, the people would only get to rest 4 hours a day. It was really a big task. We'll talk about what this symbolizes in a moment, because that symbolizes something, right? But first I want to discuss the timing of this event. There are those who wrongly assume this 7 days of warning before the flood were symbolic of 7 years, and that these represented the years the righteous will spend in heaven after a pre-tribulation rapture. I'm sure you've heard of this, and I'm also sure you can see that this isn't correct. Noah and his family spent that time loading the ark with animals. They weren't in heaven. Noah himself finally entered the ark on the same day the rain fell, causing the flood, as we see in Genesis 7:11 through 13. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. On the very same day, Noah and his sons, Shem and Ham and Japheth, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them entered the ark. So there it is, on the very same day it started to rain. Jesus confirmed this in Luke 17:26 through 27. Just as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be in the days of the Son of Man. They were eating and drinking, marrying and being given in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. The unrighteous were totally unaware until the very day Noah entered the ark. The 7-day warning was for loading the ark, not for resting in heaven. Nor is this 7 days a sign that the post-tribulation rapture is correct. I bet a lot of people are thinking, hey, that must be a post-trib rapture. Hebrews used inclusive counting at this time. They counted the day they were on as day 1. So in 7 days would be the day they were on plus 6 more days. If days do equal years in this account, the rapture would occur at the end of the 6th year of the tribulation. It would be a pre-wrath rapture according to the symbol. Now, the loading of the ark is a symbol of sharing our testimony during that period up until the judgment, to save as many humans as possible, to get as many human souls as possible onto the ark, which is Jesus. The presence of both types of animals, clean and unclean, though, indicates that God's covenantal promise is going to extend to the entirety of his human creation, not just to a select group. This shows the scope of God's plan, his redemptive plan, ultimately finds fulfillment in reconciling all of creation to Jesus. Now, my interpretation of the clean versus the unclean is the proportion of those who will go in the rapture. To me, the clean animals represent those currently attending church, churchgoers, people trying to do their best to live virtuous lives. The unclean are those who don't currently believe in Jesus at all and his redemptive work. We're to bring both kinds onto the ark. We're to prepare those in the church who are unaware that all of this is going to come down so quickly. Get them ready for the rapture. Get them ready to face the days before the rapture. And it's also for those outside of the church, so they know what's coming so that they can be saved. And these are the things we should be doing right now. And the reason is because we have likely received that 6-year warning. If the history-making events of late September and early October truly marked the beginning of the tribulation of the 70th week of Daniel, then we have been given the timetable before the flood of fire, which is coming. Now, what were those events? Maybe you didn't hear about it. On September 22nd, 2024, the UN approved the Pact for the Future, the greatest secular covenant in the history of the world, giving the UN, and especially the World Court, immense power over the nations, especially Israel. Then on the Feast of Trumpets itself, the Hebraic New Year, a group of 90 nations assembled to form an international alliance to force Israel to divide the land in a two-state solution, using the new powers that the pact gave them. They met again on October 30th and will continue to meet until that two-state solution is implemented. We believe this is a fulfillment of the first portion of Daniel 9:27, where an unknown he causes a covenant with many to be made strong. The pact for the future, the greatest secular covenant of all time, is that covenant in our opinion, and the International Alliance is doing the bidding of the he to implement and force Israel into a false peace covenant to divide the land. Now, we believe the he is hidden behind the scenes at this moment, but he's still causing it to happen. And the beginning of this prevailing of the covenant took place on the Feast of Trumpets, the very day when all Hebraic 7-year periods or weeks begin. To me, there's a near perfect fulfillment of the verse that describes the beginning of the tribulation. And if the tribulation has begun, then we know we only have 6 years before the pre-wrath rapture and the raining down of fire on the earth. That's why I think we have a 95 to 99% chance that we have received our warning. If the two-state solution takes place this year, then in my mind the odds just go up. But this isn't how Left Behind said the tribulation would start, is it? You might say, hey, this doesn't seem familiar to me at all. Well, click right here to keep watching and discover the 7 ways Left Behind was incorrect about how the tribulation starts. Remember, it's just a fictional novel after all. And see our suspicion on who that mysterious he is, the Prince of the Covenant. Till then, this is Nelson, and I'll see you there.